What is up, guys? My name is Lex. This vlog is from a familiar city, but a new location, TCH Social in Dallas, Texas. This is the first time I've ever stepped foot in this new poker room, and it is beautiful. Tons of new tables to play poker at. You can also check out their lounge while you're waiting for your game or eating some food. They have a full bar as well, serving you basically anything you want to drink. I sit down with a brand new must-move 1025 game uncapped. I buy in for $3,000. I want to see what these guys are made of before I put too much money on the table. Let's get started. There's two calls for 25, a button raised to 125. I 3-bet ace-9 of hearts in the big blind as a semi-bluff to $500, and the button makes the call. Heads up to a 9-2-2 flush draw board. Top pair, top kicker for me. All in all, I feel like this is actually a great flop for my hand. If we flopped an ace, we wouldn't really know where we're at. I don't think my opponent has an overpair here to the board. It is possible, though. I'm going to bet, looking to probably just get it all in. I started the hand with around $2,500, so I put out a big bet here of $600, thinking my opponent can call with flush draws. He can call with ace-king, ace-queen. He can also call with 7s, 8s, and 6s. He doesn't make the call, and the turn is a 3, bringing 2 flush draws on board. I've got $1,600 in my stack. The pot is well over that size. I think there's just one option here.
It's so powerful, and people didn't know how to counter it, so they made it illegal.
Benji, hot seat right here.
Oh, with the spin suit. What up, Benji?
You have overpair? I go all in for my $1,600, and my opponent pretty quickly flicks in the call. I feel like he could have me beat here. I ask him if he has an overpair to the board, and he shakes his head no, so I guess that's a good sign for me. Maybe he has a flush draw. The river card double pairs the board with another 3. I show ace-9, and my opponent mucks. My very first big hand here at TCH Social in Dallas, Texas. I get a full double up with ace-9 of hearts. I've been talking about running bad for the last couple months, and I have to say I wasn't too confident going all in there and getting quickly called by my opponent, but this is Texas. Big pots happen here, and luckily this one is going my way. It's always great when you get a double up after your first buy, and it kind of feels like you're playing with free money. I've got $5,500+ in my stack, but make sure to stay tuned all the way through the video because that could change. The table's a little slow on action, so I suggest a one-round $50 straddle. In this hand, I've got queens in the small blind. $50 straddles on. I raised to 150, big blind, and straddle call. 3 ways to king 6-2. All diamonds. There's an overcard to my pair. I'm out of position, so I decided to check. I could balance this out by checking strong hands like king, queen, king, jack, ace, king, aces, and even sometimes checking some flushes. Big blind bets 125, straddle calls 125. I look back, I do have the queen of diamonds. For a good price, I think I can call, so that's what I do. The turn card pairs the board another 6. I check. Big blind checks, and now the straddle fires out $450. I don't think he's bluffing the 2 people on this board. We're losing to a king, a 6, a full house, a flush. So I decided to let my queens go, and the big blind folds as well, and we lose this pot. When I'm not at the table grinding live poker, I'm usually playing online poker on my phone. I like to play smaller buy-in tournaments, working on my skills and strategies and short stack play. I also play multi-table smaller level buying cash games as well, just to get some reps in if I'm bored. If you guys are interested in playing some online poker with me, go down into the description below of this video, click on the link, and get yourself on to play some online poker. I usually play during the week and on the weekends in the evening hours. Hope to see you guys there. With no straddle on in this hand, blinds at 10, 25, I raise under the gun to 75, get 3 callers, and oh yeah, I've got pocket aces. Nice. Ace of spades, ace of clubs. We're going 4 ways to the flop. With aces, you do have to be careful with the amount of people going to the flop, and we see a not so great board. Jack 8, 10. The reason this board's not great is because we can't really improve with aces, and it's very wet and connected. A lot of 2 pairs, sets, and straights out there. I check all the way to the button who bets out $200. With that being said, I can't fold aces to just one $200 bet, so I call, and the under the gun +1 player calls. 3 ways now to a 7 on the turn. A terrible card. Any 9 makes a straight. I check. Under the gun +1 checks. Button bets out $500, considering I don't think he's ever betting here with a hand that's worse than mine. Something like a 10 or a jack. I just snap fold my hand. I continue to let the camera roll here because I'm interested to see what happens at the end of this hand. Under the gun +1 thinks for a while and then calls this $700 bet. The river card's a 9, bringing a straight on board. Under the gun +1 checks, button checks, and they both show hands that I was beating. Button shows King Jack for just a pair of jacks. Under the gun +1 shows Ace-7 for a pair of 7s. It's almost been over 2 years since I lived here in Texas grinding away at these 2-5 deep stack games, and I have to say I kind of somewhat forget how these Texas players play. I mean, you just can never fold in Texas, because I'm not sure if this button player was bluffing when he bet 500 with a pair of jacks on a one-liner straight board, or if he was value betting. I don't know, but I will have to change my strategy up a little bit here considering I'm in Texas, and these games are a lot different than the rest of the country. Playing 7-handed in this hand, I've got King-Queen offsuit raised under the gun to 75, middle position player calls, big blind completes, we see Ace-10-6 with a flush draw. On this board, I definitely want to be C-betting. I have a gut shot straight draw to the nuts, the ace definitely favors me. I bet out $75 thinking I can get my opponents to fold out a lot of better hands, all pocket pairs. Middle position player calls, but the big blind folds. We're now heads up to the 5 of hearts on the turn. Now I have to make a decision of what I want to do. Should I give up and check, or should I continue to double barrel? I think there's merit to both options here. If he called on the flop, I don't think he's going to be folding much on the turn, especially with this card. However, he could have some 10x hands, some 6x hands, some gut shot straight draws with equity, so I like to go with the aggressive route and continue to bluff here for a $325 sizing, close to the size of the pot. He thinks for a little bit of time and eventually puts in the chips. I now think he most likely has an ace, so when the river card pairs the 6, I now have to decide, do I give up, or do I try to get my opponent to fold out an ace-x hand? Going back through this hand, I raised pre-flop, my opponent just called. I don't put him on hands like ace-king or ace-queen or pocket 10s for a set. I feel like the best hand he could have here would be ace-10 suited, which I don't think would actually play in this manner. He would probably raise on the flop or the turn. So I'm going to target hands like ace-jack, ace-9, ace-8, ace-4, ace-3, and bet out a large sizing representing hands like ace-king and ace-queen. I make it $1,000 to go. I've got a king and a queen in my hand. I block him from having those big aces as well, but that doesn't matter. He calls pretty quickly. I show king queen for king high, and he shows ace king. Wow, nicely played by my opponent. Just flat calls pre-flop, doesn't 3-bet, and it allows me to bluff off almost $2,000 there. Nice. You guys remember that big hand we doubled up on earlier on in this session, winning almost a 6K pot? Well, all that profit is now gone. I'm now stuck at starting stack. About an hour goes by before I play another hand. I raise pocket 9s on the button to $100. Big blind 3-bets me to $500. I call here with 9s, but versus that sizing, maybe I could have just folded pre-flop. $1,000 in the middle to a board of queen 8-5. I've got second pair in a 3-bet pot. Button versus big blind, the ranges should be the widest in this position. My opponent bets out $350 on this flop. Now, I don't want to just fold out a pair when my opponent 3-bets and then bets this flop. He can have a lot of hands that we're still beating. Ace-king, ace-jack, ace-5 suited, smaller pocket pairs as well, other Broadway combinations. So I make the call for $350 and the turn, not so great. It's a jack of hearts, bringing in a flush draw and another overcard to my pair. Now, this is an interesting card because 9-10 makes a straight, and I do have 2 9s in my hand, heavily blocking that potential hand from my opponent. I think a lot of the time here he's going to check, and then I have to figure out, should I bet or should I just check behind? But that doesn't happen. My opponent continues to put on the pressure here and continue to bet for a $625 sizing. So what's going through my mind now is two options. One, fold or go all in or raise and turn my hand into a bluff. I'm never considering calling in this situation. I do think my opponent's going to be very polarized with this bet, meaning he's going to have a very strong hand or a bluff, and ultimately I just decided to just let it go. And he does show for the vlog King 10 of spades, so he had a lot of outs. We were technically winning, but good pressure from my opponent, and unfortunately there we lose almost $1,000 again in this hand. Playing only 5-handed now at this 10-25 must move. Jack 10 of diamonds, I raised to 75, button calls 75, same player who 3-bet me last hand with King 10 of spades, 3-bets me again to $375. Now, this is going to be very common in these games, for there to be a raise and maybe a call in later position, and for a 3-bet coming out of the blinds. Now, I could just call with my hand and allow the button to come along as well, or I could 4-bet bluff, and given the fact that he did just 3-bet me earlier with King 10 of spades, I decide to knock over my camera and then put in a 4-bet myself to $825, thinking this could put a lot of pressure on those hands. Just like King 10 of spades, hands like Ace Jack offsuit, Ace Queen offsuit, pocket nines, pocket eights. I don't really like this hand that I'm 3-betting with because I block a lot of the hands that I want him to fold. With that being said, when you are 4-bet bluffing, you're hoping for a snap fold. My opponent goes into the tank for a little bit of time and goes all in. Fuck. Ugh. I snap fold my cards, cannot be calling it all in with Jack 10 of diamonds. And we are just, things are just not going our way in this session. We doubled up early on and then lost every single hand after that. We went from being up $2,500 to now being stuck about $2,000. I finally get moved over to the main game, and this table is deep. Tens of thousands of dollars in everyone's stack. I add on a little bit, so now I have around $6K in front of me. In this hand, I'm under the gun. I raise pocket queens to $75. Under the gun plus 1 calls before a Euro player in middle position who looks like he's watching a movie on an iPad wakes up and 3-bets me to $300. Now, this is a pretty strong play. I raised under the gun. There's a call and he's 3-betting me, and I don't have too much of a deep stack. Also, he looked pretty into his movie and he decided to stop watching his movie to re-raise me, so I'm just going to call here with pocket queens. A 4-bet would be pretty standard, but I just kind of want to see a flop. I want to see what happens. Under the gun plus 1 calls as well, and we go 3 ways to 6-3-2. All in all, I do really like this flop. No ace, no king, no jack 10 or 9 for him to make a set. I don't think my opponents are going to have 4-5 for a straight, so I like this board. I check. Under the gun plus 1 checks. The Euro, who has now paused his movie, bets out $1,000. 1,000. That's a huge bet. That's an over pot size bet. Jesus, what is going on? I mean, I've under-repped my hand pre-flop, but could I just fold to a $1,000 bet on this flop? No way. Should I go all in for $5,000 and get snap called by aces or kings? Can't do that either. I'm just going to continue to call and let him potentially bluff. And the turn card is terrible. It's a king. So now we are beating ace-king on the flop. We are no longer beating that hand. I check to him, and he bets out, same sizing he made it on the flop, $1,000. And now, I just don't think he's ever bluffing for this sizing. Like I said before, we were losing to ace-king. Ace-king now beats us. There's not many bluffs in his range. He's pretty strong betting the flop, and then continuing on this turn once I call. So I just have to reluctantly fold my pocket queens and lose another $1,000+. This is very frustrating. Nothing is going my way so far in this session. Took a little bit of a break here. They have a beautiful, beautiful lounge. Really, really nice lounge. Unfortunately, I am tilted out of my frickin' mind. I'm down like $6,000. I just lost a hand that I didn't film where I called a 3-bet flop top pair, called down river, came 1 over card to the pair that I had, and the guy bet. I called because they can't always have it right. and he did have it. He got lucky on the river, so just losing pots after pots after pots. I'm going to try to take a little bit of a break, which I don't normally do. Usually I just kind of fight through the bad run or the tilt, but I'm going to take like a 5-minute break, try to cool down, because I'm pretty sure that last hand I played, I would have played much differently if I wasn't on tilt. So I'm going to kind of enjoy this nice lounge they have here at TCH Social and try to be a little bit less on tilt when I go back to the table. Okay, I may be down thousands and thousands of dollars, but the game is still decent. There's a lot of money on the table. Let's try to get it back. 9-10 of hearts, I raise in late position to $100, and now the big blind 3-bets me to $350. We're pretty deep stacked. I'm in position. A suited connecting hand that can make 2 pairs, can make trips and flushes and straights. So I make the call. Heads up here to a 10-high board, giving me top pair. There's a flush draw. My kicker isn't the best with a 9, but I feel pretty good about this flop. My opponent now in the big blind continues to bet for $275. I watched him play yesterday and today so far. His flop continuation frequency was pretty high. Now, he isn't always going to have hands that we're losing to here. He's going to have a lot of hands like ace-queen, ace-king, ace-jack, king-queen. So I decided to raise for value and protection to $700 with my top pair. Instead of just calling $275, I raise here to get him to fold out hands that we're beating but have equity against us. Also, we could get called by flush draws. We could even maybe get called by stubborn 8s or pocket 9s as well. My opponent now thinks for a little bit of time, facing this $700 raise. He's got around $3,000 left in his stack. I am hoping for him just to fold. If he does call, I'll feel pretty good about my hand, but neither of those options happen. My opponent now decides to 3-bet this flop to $1,600, and my mind is just exploding right now. I am incredibly frustrated. I just have to fold this hand. Nothing I am doing so far in this session is working. All my bluffs are getting called. I never can make a good hand. I'm having to make big folds, and I'm just down, losing. I'm not a quitter. Well, just not yet. Pocket 8s for me. I'm going to raise. I make it $100 to go. Back over to the same player who just 3-bet me on the flop, and I had to fold top pair. 3-bets me again. $350, there is no way in hell I'm ever folding a pocket pair here in position. So I make the call, we're heads up in position, hoping for a good flop, and we get it. 9-8-3, 2 clubs, finally a set for us. Middle set in a 3-bet pot in position, over $5,000 deep. My opponent now decides to check. Oh, God. Damn it. Well, I'm not going to be checking a hand this strong on a board like this. He could possibly be checking some overpairs. Maybe he's checking, looking to check raise. I bet somewhat small, $275. Just baiting him in there, just hoping he calls. And of course, we get 0 action with our set. I've been waiting all night to play a big pot and have it go my way. I finally flop a set in a 3-bet pot, and I get 0 action. I'm too frustrated to play poker anymore. There's no way I'm getting back my thousands and thousands of dollars. The table is somewhat short-handed now. I've been playing for a while. I end up calling it quits, racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night. Alright guys, that is it for this one. My very first time here at TCH Social in Dallas, Texas. This room has been open for almost a year, I believe. I really like it so far. It's very comfortable. All the waitresses, the dealers, the floor staff, like always here at Texas Card House, they're always great. Unfortunately though, this may have been the most frustrating session I've played in a very long time, if not ever. So if you guys have been following along over the last couple months, I've had just a really tough time with poker. I mean, it's been really rough. I did have one of the biggest upswings of my entire life later in 2023, but then at the end of 2023 I just kind of lost. November I made $100, December I lost $20,000, January I lost $17,000, And then so far this month, I'm down a couple $1,000s as well. Today I ended up losing $6,600 after being up $3,000 to begin with. I mean, it's just really frustrating. It really, really takes its toll. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been through swings before, but this is by far the worst downswing I've ever been on and the longest downswing I've ever been on. And when you get into that mindset of just losing and losing and losing, it definitely really affects you. So today I come in, I double up, and then I just like lose all my profit plus more. Everything doesn't go my way. I know I'm going to sound like a whiny baby, but it really is annoying when that happens in poker. When you 4-bet bluff with Jack-10 of diamonds and the guy goes all in. When you triple barrel bluff and the guy's got ace-king and he flatted you pre-flop. When you call a raise with queens and a king comes on the turn. When you call down with top pair and he hits a bigger top pair on the river. When you finally make a set and the guy's got nothing at all. I mean, it really, really is frustrating. I have to just kind of take a step back sometimes, relax, and try to get my mind right, because tonight my mind was definitely not the best. I was not in the best mindset. I was annoyed, I was frustrated, I was mad, I was angry because I just couldn't freaking win, and that's what's going to happen in poker, I guess. Overall, it's not a huge loss. I mean, $6,000 for this game, being an uncapped buying game, I mean, it's not terrible. It's just really frustrating because it's compounding on the last couple months. I've just been having the worst couple months in poker, so it's just compounding onto that. So, I don't know. I didn't feel like I played my best. I'm going to have to fix things, try to play better, try to run better too. Like, making hands always helps. Bluffing and having it work always helps. You having a slightly better hand than your opponent and not always getting coolered, that helps as well. I've got some big things coming up next. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Tomorrow's my last day here. Then I'm flying to Los Angeles, playing 2 big Hustler live streams. It's going to be huge. Some of the biggest games I've ever played in my entire life. Maybe that game will be the start of getting out of this downswing. We'll see. But ranting to the camera here, it's tough, man. Playing poker for a living is very tough. There's ups and downs. There's good parts. There's bad parts. And unfortunately, I'm in the bad part right now, but I have gotten out of it before, and I will get out of it this time. Just gotta stay patient, stay tough, stick with what I know, and hopefully things start turning around. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see ya.